The Radio Wammo Breakfast.
Issues of the day under T-Radar.
We talk about issues of the day with T-Radar this morning. Of course, T-Radar joining us via live Skype video. G'day, T-Radar.
Well, hello, how are you?
I'm good. We may as well dig straight into the top story of the day.
There's really no other story today, is there? No. And it's not Hone Harawira. He's been knocked off the front page with the I was going to say for a second there, the alleged assassination of Osama bin Laden.
Well, okay. Now, if it was say Gaddafi saying that he had killed Osama or something, we would be saying, oh, it's alleged. But because the Bush administration says they did it, oh no, it's fact. It's happened.
You mean the Obama? The Obama administration.
Oh, what did I say?
You said the Bush administration.
Oh, did I?
To be fair,
it's all one and the same.
You're not far wrong, and that many of them are probably the same people who were there in the first place. But nonetheless, yes, there he is in Pakistan, and not living in a cave, in quite a nice compound in Pakistan, given away by the fact that there he was in this enormous house without the phone or the internet connected, burnt his rubbish, and people went, hey, we think that's suspicious.
But people are making a big deal about not having the phone and internet. He never had phone and internet. Like that was the thing. That was why they could never capture him in the first place, because he was never connected to the world that we are.
That's right. So he had a series of sort of couriers, I think, and that's how they apparently eventually got him. They tracked down one of his couriers and followed him and went, yeah, we reckon it's him, and then they went. And then, of course, it's one of those things where you sit watching and you're thinking, I see the birth of a movement of people who are never really going to believe that this happened. I feel the same way as it's the moon landing. It's, to an extent, it's Obama's birth certificate. And there's been a lot of great things this week because he finally released his long-form birth certificate last week, and there was a great internet meme where he was there going, sorry, couldn't release my birth certificate, busy killing Osama.
Yeah.
So, and the great thing they said, and there's I saw one comment, and it's just going to be interesting to get the timeline that he gave the sort of the go order, either sort of during the royal wedding or just before he was about to go on stage and deliver his speech at the yearly sort of press meeting.
The White House.
The correspondence dinner where the president traditionally gets up and delivers a piece of sort of stand-up. So it's like, in terms of upping his credibility as the dude.
Yeah.
Probably have done it.
Let's look at it here. So, a covert operation. Weirdly enough, some helicopter went down. Who knows? We don't really know much about that. Body dumped at sea, shot in the head. Some weird kind of DNA test. They won't say how they did the DNA test. They reckon that they spoke to other countries to see whether or not they wanted to take the body. They won't tell us what countries they spoke to, how those talks went down, how the word didn't actually get out. The whole thing, I'm not going to be one of those non-believers because I'm not a conspiracy theorist or anything, but I'm just saying, why should I believe? I've got no reason to believe.
Oh, well, no, when you put it like that, I suppose you're right. But there's clearly many people who do. And I guess that was always going to be the question, what do they do with the body? They could hardly sort of wrap it in bacon and feed it to dogs, even though I suspect there were people who may well have wanted that to happen. Dumped it. See, apparently, all of the traditional Muslim protocols were followed. The body was washed. It was wrapped in a white cloth. I think that I did see somewhere that apparently it had to be encased in a thing of clay. It was one of the sort of the protocols, but I don't know whether they actually went that far and sort of thrown off the side of an aircraft carrier. I wonder if they had a little service. I wonder if everyone lined up on the deck and they hoofed it out into the water. Because it's quite a lot of sort of military tradition or naval tradition with with burials at sea. There's a lot that goes on. Was it on one of those little boards and they sort of just tipped it up and it splooshed down into the water?
Well, apparently that's that's the official story that's coming out. Is that's what they're saying happened. But I mean, these guys on board the aircraft carrier are dealing with their most hated individual. Do you think they're going to? Are they going to follow these protocols?
I actually suspect they would have had someone there making sure they did, and I suspect they probably videoed it. I would say.
So we're going to see this, you reckon?
Oh wow, we'll just have to wait to see what Julian Assange can come up with, I suppose, and see if he if he WikiLeaks it out, so that we can all sit there and look at it. There'll be. There's already a few fake photographs out there. There was one that sort of had him, and that's been denounced as a fake. But I suppose we'll just have to wait and see. But
okay.
The great reaction is various people coming out now saying, "Oh, thank goodness the price of petrol will drop." So I'm not entirely sure that that that's going to be the case.
So can I now take my knitting needles onto the aeroplane, T-Radar, do you think?
No, I don't suspect so. In fact, I would say that airplane security and the pat-downs and all of those things are going to become far worse than they were.
Because do you think the world is a safer place? This is the ridiculous statements that our own leaders were making. Phil Goff and John Key both said the world is now a safer place. Is it? Do they really believe that? And also, it just seems very un-New Zealand, very un-Kiwi to celebrate the death of anyone. You know,
yes, well, that's one of those interesting sort of ethical points, isn't it? You know, a lot of people coming out and saying, well, it seems a bit sort of, I don't know, grotesque, but Guy Henwood had a great tweet. He said he felt like going out into the street and shooting an AK-47 into the air. I thought that was very funny. There was a decided lack of that, very restrained in the sort of the shooting of weapons into the air. I'm sure it happened. I'm sure somewhere, you know, through the States, someone went out and fired a gun into the air, but generally, you know, fairly civilised. A lot of chanting of USA, USA, and really that was about it.
And it looked not too different to, a street scene in Egypt after ousting their leader, isn't it? It was all very universal. Or any of the street scenes in anywhere around the world after sort of, you know, the celebration of various suicide bombings or rocket attacks or anything like that. People generally get out and give it a bit of sort of the hup. Yeah. So no, it wasn't. And that's where. And that's where there's this massive divide exists between New Zealanders and Americans and our life and their life. And yet we've still got our troops in Afghanistan put in harm's way for their life, for their way of life. It has nothing to do with us.
Well, I suppose it doesn't. It's one of those interesting ones, isn't it? Because you kind of look at the sort of the repression that had gone on there, caused in many ways by sort of, a lot of it to do with centuries of sort of hillbilly living, and sort of up there with the only thing being sort of strict adherence to a very intense form of Islam, and just the civil rights and things. You go, where does the West's responsibility lie when it comes to going in and saying, hey, you can't really do this to people, that's not cool. You can't execute people for flying kites, you can't ban music, you can't ban singing, you can't burn schools down with girls inside because someone's teaching them. That's not cool. So, in terms of that, the point, of course, is that we didn't really go there for that.
No.
But that is one of the things. So it's certainly a complicated issue.
I mean, that's the whole Iraq question, isn't it? Did we go there to free the people from Saddam Hussein, or did we go there to sort out the oil?
Well, that's right. Now, if Donald Trump is elected president, he's had some great statements. He said the other day that we'd just invade Libya and take the oil, because in the past, if you won a war, you got to own the country.
Yeah, is that what he said?
Yeah, that is what he said. Yeah, and then he called the Chinese mother effers, and said that I think he said we should just. He said, I think we should stop paying the debt or do something anyway. But if you want to see how the Republican Party is faring at the moment, I would strongly suggest having a look at some of the speeches that Donald Trump has made. It's like he's sort of spent too much time with Gary Busey on his on The Apprentice, and he's just coming out with the most absurd range of statements. It's quite. I can't imagine that he's going to be the candidate who runs, but he certainly makes for some entertaining statements. But then, to be fair, we have sort of similar folk here making wonderful statements, and we saw that on the weekend. Hone Harawira starting his new party. It'll be interesting to see what happens with that. The Mana Party, and what would be great, I suppose, is if no one challenged him in the by-election, and he sort of just had to run himself, and that's one of the options for people up there, which would make it sort of $500,000 to bugger all, really.
And then now both leaders, Labour and National, saying they wouldn't work with him after the election anyway, so he'd never be part of any kind of coalition.
Well, that's all very well to say that, but seeing, you got to see which way the wind blows, and if it came down to a couple of seats that would mean that they were the government, I'm sure there would be some kind of discussion. I can't really see them working with National, given some of their tax policies and various things like that. They are, as a lot of folks from the far left who have sort of come into this ragtag band of political mercenaries. So Labour, I suspect, could work with them, but we'll have to wait and see.
T-Radar, before we go, it is the Comedy Fest has kicked off in Auckland, and you are part of a show with all kinds of people in it. Tell us about that.
Yes, I'm quite happy not to actually even have to sort of really turn up all that often. It's a romantic comedy called Mike and Virginia. It's sort of a delightful romantic comedy, really, with Will Hall and Lisa Chappell, who many people will have seen on various things, McLeod's Daughters and all of that, and she's just absolutely stunning, and Stephen Papps and Michelle A. Court. So it's kind of a wonderful thing, and if people like rom-coms, that's their thing. But the thing is, the comedy festival is on, winter's coming, everyone's a little bit down, so if you are in Auckland or Wellington, pop out and see it. There's a wealth of shows, and if you have a look through the program and think, I don't really know who I want to go and see, take a lucky chip, a lucky dip. Just think, I'm just going to go and see that. I'm going to choose something at 8:30, and I'm going to go and see the first thing I come across, and you'll enjoy it. And for the rest of the country, the convoy's coming around. It's going to, I think, about sort of 8 or 9 venues, including Christchurch. So make sure you get out there and check that out.
Cool. Thanks very much, T Radar. We'll talk to you next week.
We won't speak again next week. I'll be in China.
Oh, China. Crikey, Dick.
So yes, I'll give you a full and in-depth report on that in a fortnight or so.
What city are you headed to? What province?
Look, to be fair, I don't know. All I know is I'm on a plane next Monday night, and that's all I really need to know. And then we're filming over there, and I just let the director tell me what to do. It doesn't make any difference if I know or not. I still have to be there, and I kind of like the surprise. I love having a fortnight of travel where you don't really know where you're going.
It's kind of like an extreme. Remember the old Ansett mystery weekends? You could do.
It is a little bit like that. What I do know is I'm going to be spending some time working in a light bulb factory.
Oh, wow!
I know the glamour. Yes.
Will it be incandescent or the new eco ones?
They're the new ones, and it's a factory that is co-owned by an outfit in Christchurch, and they've got quite a revolutionary way of making the new sort of light bulbs. So we're going to go over and see how it's all panning out.
Fascinating.
Over there
in,
Chinatown.
Week after then?
The week after I'll be in Borneo, but the week after I'll be back.
Okay. I'll see you then. T Radar.